I think one of the reasons that we continue to raise the issue of the 2009 election in Iran that was widely, and we think without any evidence, condemned here as a fraud is so important, because people say to us, let it go, doesn't matter, just move on. The reason it still matters is because that election and the reaction to it here is what sunk the liberal support, the Democratic Party support essentially, for real engagement. Because they thought, our view is that a lot of liberals, a lot of Democrats also want regime change in Iran, but they want to have soft regime change. They think the mistake of the Bush era were that Bush tried to bring regime change and democracy with tanks. And that can't happen. That seems nonsensical to especially many liberals and Democrats. But the idea, I think, that has really took hold in the Democratic Party and among foreign policy elites, Democratic foreign policy elites, was they could do it better. That there could be an Obama effect was even the discussion right before the 2009 election in Iran. There could be an Obama effect. It would happen in Lebanon. Hezbollah wouldn't get as much support as it did. And in Iran, Mousavi would come into office and solve our Ahmadinejad problem. We wouldn't have to deal with any of his fiery rhetoric or any of these hardline policies from Iran. And so that is what is so important. It discredited engagement because it made engagement dependent on a good Iranian regime. Whereas we argue this is not something that Iran has to be good or bad about. It's a recognition of the importance of Iran geopolitically, its location, its resources, and its importance as an Islamic republic, as an enduring power, and a power that has tremendous influence in the region. So we think it is critically important, and even though some of the appointments, and then some of the appointments, of course, that Obama made in his first term, I think reinforced this idea that there was going to have to be tremendous give on the Iranian part, tremendous concessions on the Iranian part, appointing Hillary Clinton as Secretary of State, appointing Dennis Ross to be in charge of the Iran file, essentially, from the State Department into the White House, sent all of the signals that Iran was going to have to somehow come halfway and somehow make these concessions. But if you look at what happened with Nixon and Kissinger's diplomacy with China, there wasn't a list that Nixon and Kissinger had for China. In fact, Kissinger recounts that the Americans and the Chinese, before the acceptance of the People's Republic of China, met 136 times. 136 meetings. And each one of those meetings, the Americans demanded the Chinese do X, Y, and Z. The Chinese demanded the Americans do A, B, and C. And that Kissinger realized all those discussions were doing was entrenching and hardening the positions on both sides. And the real insight was to accept the People's Republic of China as it was, following its interests rationally and defensively. And that we could bracket differences. We could bracket Taiwan, we can bracket Japan and South Korea, we could bracket differences. So that's where we think it's important to focus.